Hey, hello! Very warm welcome to this new video on the topic of, do you know when your ego is actually trying to control you? Do you know when the ego is at play, basically? So this is a really, really important topic, and it will be for you if you still get triggered, if you feel emotionally low at times, maybe too often, if you feel you're a victim or you're, bad off, or there's some injustice going on, maybe you feel alone, maybe you feel not protected, and you have a kind of fears there that keep on pulling you down. So basically, anytime you are experiencing a low vibration emotionally, you are coming from the ego mind. Hey, I'm Cummins, if you're new here, and I am really here to show you, to help you to live your life from love instead of fear, and to guide you back to live more often from your heart and soul instead of from your ego. And actually, this topic is like the ABC of self-development. Not understanding this, this game that we are basically playing, being here, it's vital to understand it. So if you don't understand it, you are very easily falling prey to the ego mind. Okay, so hello everybody who's watching, and let me know if you have a specific issue that that's maybe hard to conquer or hard to understand, to do with feeling emotionally low in some ways. It could be fear or pain or anything to do with depression. Let me know if you want to share it, and I can comment on your issue. Okay, so first of all, it's very important to understand that the ego does have a purpose. Actually, I used to come from battling with the ego and didn't like it, and I thought we have to diminish it. But that doesn't work, because the ego is here because we are a soul in a human body. And as soon as we are creating or having a human body, we are also creating a human, an ego or a human self. So the ego self is attached to or identified with our body, with our mind, and with our emotions. That's all it knows, basically. And so the ego has the purpose of watching and observing and taking in our life's experiences. So the soul can kind of record it. It's actually all recorded in the Akashic records later on. And so the soul can have its experiences. It's always all about having soul experiences, whatever you're going through in any lifetime. That's why we are here. That's why we come. And also, I believe, to help humanity ascend, to clean up and clear in ourselves the unresolved issues from childhood or even past lives. So the more we do that, of course, the cleaner and clearer and higher vibrationally the humanity as a whole becomes. Can you see that? So doing our cleaning and healing work is so very, very important to basically tell the universe, yes, I want to raise my vibration. Yes, I want to live from love. Yes, I choose to be more empowered. Yes, I choose to be, or live from the highest vibration I possibly can. Okay, so first of all, understand the ego has a purpose in order to give us the separation experience, which is in truth an illusion, but without the ego, we wouldn't have this illusion, and we couldn't experience the soul's learning that we want to do here. Okay, so the ego is basically taking often the inner child, or the experiences, and makes it its own. It blows it up and makes it into a story. And repeats it and tells it again and again and again, in order for us to notice it and to dissolve it and to heal it. That's really the purpose. So everything is always good. Whatever happens is always there for a reason, and it's always to help you to come back to your understanding of being infinite love in a soul being. You know, you're a soul being. So now, and because the ego is not connected to our soul, so the ego is connected to body, mind, and emotion. It's not connected to the soul. It hasn't. There's no channel to the soul and to the infinite self and to the wisdom that our heart and our soul is attached to or connected with. And so therefore, you see, the ego lives like a separate being in a bubble. It's a little bit like living in a droplet in an ocean. And the ocean is full of love, and everything is there that the ego actually wants, but because it sees itself in a bubble as a separate being, it believes it has got nothing. It has got no love, it's not protected, it's not safe, it's always alone, and it always needs to get all that from the outside world around it. And that's when the dilemma starts. That's when all the duality game and the duality experiences start. So it cannot give itself love, peace, or joy. It thinks that, at least it thinks that, and it needs to reach out to others to get it. That's where it's coming from. And it gets triggered when we are experiencing, again, a situation where a belief that's underneath the story or the scenario that happens is brought to light, like something happens in the world and you feel, oh, you know, I'm not wanted, nobody wants me, I'm just not good enough. Okay, so that's the ego's identification. It sort of took that from maybe an experience when your little child had something, you know, happening with your parents or so, and it took that and made it its own, and then it becomes identified with that. So hence, it's really important to notice the triggers and to notice when you're feeling emotionally low. Okay, so I want to that's just the basic stuff that usually happens in our lives. And again, if you want to share anything, please do, and then I can talk about it. Okay, and make a video about that as well. So the ego has certain traits. You know, the ego, first of all, has a big need. It's always in need. The need for love or peace or joy or acceptance will never go unless you direct it, unless you change it, unless you take back your power. So if the ego is left alone, and if the ego doesn't get educated by you, and if you don't take back the reins and actually manage or navigate your ego mind and your soul wisdom, then the ego becomes very powerful, and you as a human being would appear to be very needy and very dependent on others, you know, and maybe getting upset very easily, very fearful, you know, because then you are fully identified with the ego. So our task is to take back the reins and to decide that we are the director here and not our ego. So for that, we need to understand how the ego works. So trait number one, it's very, very needy. So become aware when you need love from another person. Maybe you are exhibiting a behavior then that's demanding. Every time you're demanding, and from maybe your loved one, your partner, family member, you can be sure you're doing that for a reason. And the reason usually is that you don't feel loved. So you are telling them what to do, how to behave, and you know how to speak with you or how to treat you, because you have a belief in you or a need in you, and like a big emotion that, oh, I'm just not loved, you know, I just need to be loved, I want to be loved, give me your love, kind of thing, yeah? So the ego's behavior is always based on needing something. Okay, so I mentioned the need for love. I just want to mention a few needs that the ego has. Another one is, which I was talking about in the group earlier this week, the need to be right, which is actually the last need that we often overlook and we are not aware of, because it's like, it seems like, oh, but I am right, because you know, it's about thinking that we are right. We have some knowledge that we want to give to another person because we think they don't know it and they need to know it and they should listen to us. Yeah, so it's, you know, that's a good example. And we don't realize, because, yeah, but I am right. Yeah, but I am right. But when you're coming from the soul mind, or when you're coming from your love, your true unconditional love, love wouldn't care whether you're right or wrong or whatever. Love does not even need to say how it is. It does not need to teach other people, or, you know, to make them aware of, hey, you're making a mistake here. Hey, you shouldn't do this. Love would just allow them to be as they are, smile, and if the other person asks for advice or help, then it would give it. And that's what I used to do, yeah? And I became very aware of that. And it always happens in a relationship. And that's why relationships are so valuable and so empowering. So the other person can show you what you're doing, but you do need to listen, of course. You need to be aware. And the only reason why the ego has the need to be right, which is, again, something that I wasn't clear on, but now I know, it's about being important. The ego needs to be important. It needs to be seen or heard, and really deep down, again, it needs to be loved. And, you know, it's only a very mild version of wanting to be respected or loved or seen or heard. And that's why it's the last one that gets noticed usually by us. So the stronger needs are, you know, the need to be loved and the need to be validated, for instance. When you are, you know, all the time you are feeling your loved ones or maybe your partner is not validating your feelings. You feel you're not heard, you're not, maybe you're not special, and basically your feelings are not noticed, they're not acknowledged. Then, you know, the ego would kick up and it would become very reactive and defensive, and it would tell the other person off usually, you know, it will make them wrong because that's not how you treat people, and because it really, really needs to be seen. And of course, the reason why we do that is always, first of all, we ask or we demand from the other people around us that we are hey, notice me, come on, listen what I'm saying here. And there is a truth in there. Yes, the other person is really required in a relationship to listen, you know, it's the person, everybody needs to be able to listen. And because then we have a connection, then there's a flow between the two souls. If there is no connection, you know, no noticing the other, no maybe praising, no hearing, no being present with the other, then there's a validation, there's a valid point that the ego is making. But the ego is needing, it comes from demand, you know. So when it comes from demand, you know this is the ego speaking. And what needs to happen, of course, that is that we give to ourselves what we are demanding others to give to us. And therefore, we need to be seen. We need to see ourselves. This is always the answer. The relationship is a helpful tool because, you know, you can work it out between each other. There might be lots of arguments and so on. It is all okay. And eventually, if you are humble and if you want to actually come from love and truth, then you will figure it out. That's a must. You know, if you don't want that, if you don't have that, if you want to be right, or if you want to be needy, if you want to be loved, no, you need to love me. You need to love me. We are here together as a couple, and if you don't love me the way I want you to love me, then that's it. We're over. You see, that's not how it works. That's not how you get somewhere. Okay, so the need to be loved, the need to be wanted is the same. The need to be validated, the need to be right. Then there's also a need to be safe or protected. Very often the ego feels, you know, very unsafe, especially in this pandemic situation. Many people had that coming up, I guess. And, you know, to feel safe or protected from the virus, from getting ill, from losing your job, your money, income, and all that. And because the ego is fearing the outside scenarios, the outside events, and it makes that really powerful. It makes that, oh my God, I'm in this pandemic, I'm not safe, and what can I do? You know, yes, quickly get you know, immunized or, you know, something. It always wants to do something on the outside to get that safety. But that's never, ever going to make it feel safe, you see. The outside world cannot give the ego mind what it really requires, or what it needs. So again, in this situation, the reason is that there's also the need to be with other people, which is kind of similar, you know. Some people have it, they can't be alone, you know, they absolutely can't be alone. I can see that already in children. When my children were little and they were playing with other people, and I could see there were some kids, they always had to have a playmate. They just could not do anything by themselves. And that's also an ego trait, because the ego feels separate and it isn't connected to the soul self. If you're connected to your soul self, you wouldn't feel that, you know, you're never alone, because you know, my soul is with me. So why do we have all these needs, you know? Why does the ego have these needs? Well, because it feels it sees itself as separate, it believes it's separate, and that is a belief. So what we need to do in order to uncreate that, in order to diminish the ego's power, to completely reduce it down to just being present and giving us the experience of being in a body, we actually need to uncreate or dissolve those beliefs like, oh, I'm not safe, I'm not protected here, help, help. You know, instead of doing the work on the outside, we need to delete or dissolve the belief that we're having. Because then we are not creating those scenarios where we actually are not safe. And this is, of course, the most powerful work that we can do. This is what I can help you with, and I will leave the link again in under this video. If you want to work one-to-one with me to work out those beliefs and to dissolve them, you know, please book yourself a free discovery call where we can talk about that. And if you feel ready, you want to go on that inner healing journey and actually dissolve those beliefs. So that's the most empowering work that we all need to do in order to take back our power from the ego mind. And not to believe in what the ego is telling us all the time. You know, we are not safe, we are not loved, quickly do something. That's really, it's like an ongoing churning, an ongoing tumultuous emotional experience. All the time, you know, when you're in the ego, that's what you will feel. And that's the giveaway. So to identify, am I coming from the ego? You would either feel a low vibration, you know, but nothing is working. Or, you know, I used to have that when I go out tango dancing. When people wouldn't ask me to dance, I would just getting lower and lower. Nobody wants me, you know, because that was my core belief and my core wound. And if I don't do anything about it, if I buy into it, basically, you know, then the evening would be gone for me. I would go home disappointed. And so I'm coming to the first exercise. So we have to identify, we have to really become aware, how am I feeling? Am I feeling at least neutral and content? Or am I feeling lowish or even, you know, really upset, triggered? That's, of course, the ego mind coming, you know, that's the ego mind speaking through you. And that means it is running in you. You can experience all that and not identify with it. That's stage 2. Stage 1 would be you're completely identified. You would go home. I mean, I've seen people, for instance, in the tango movement, that's my learning field. You know, some women, they just go home because nobody's asking them. They just had enough, and that's it. They storm out, yeah. And then they don't come back for months. And that's when they are absolutely 100% following the ego, believing in the ego, and are identified with the ego. Stage 2 is where you're feeling the low vibration, you're feeling, you know, a bit, you know, you don't have joy in you, you don't have love in you, and this low vibration is sort of like simmering below the surface there, and it's not making you feel happy, you know. And that's what you need to be aware of, and to always check in. Am I feeling neutral, content, and happy, or am I feeling, you know, some low vibration there? And then go deeper. How come I feel like that? That's really important. Because now, in order to educate your ego and in order to tell it, actually, I'm not going to go with you anymore. I'm not going to believe in this anymore. Yes, that was the case when I was a child, but I'm now turning it around because I had enough of living my life from needing love or approval or safety or, you know, whatever it is. And I am now empowering myself. So we can only do that by nipping the ego's behavior in the bud, not going along with it, and instead we are turning around that whole scenario that we are thinking of, this whole story. Oh, nobody's asking me to dance. Oh, I'm not good enough. I should be better. Look at them. They're so much better than me. I always make mistakes. You know, I'm just not wanted. And that's the sort of story I would then tell myself when I felt unwanted. And you can stop that with practice. And it also has helped that I've worked a lot on that in myself, because if you're having a very, very strong belief, I recommend to work with me one-to-one to dissolve the belief first, because the belief is creating all those negative scenarios, the negative stories, and the very reactive trigger in you. So I was talking about really becoming aware of when you're feeling low vibrational emotionally. And because every time you do, you're not coming from your soul or your heart and your love. And therefore, you can be sure that you're coming from your ego mind, because there's either the ego or there's the soul. We are in duality, and we've got either or experiences that we can go through. And so my aim, and this is the aim of this channel and this group, is to live your life from love. And everything I do, everything I speak about is really always about helping you to choose to live your life from love. So when you are feeling low vibrationally, it's always because you're having negative, unloving, untrue thoughts and beliefs that are going on in your mind. And you can either believe them, and it's very often that we don't even are aware of them, but we need to rub the sleepy sand out of our eyes and use the signal of the feelings that we're having, which is low vibrational. And hey, this is not how I should be feeling. I should be feeling uplifted or enjoy or at least content. And therefore, I need to do something here. I need to have an action. I need to do an action to free myself. By the way, freedom is not free. Freedom requires effort. We don't have emotional freedom just by like a given, We have to work on it because we were living for many, many, many centuries in duality, thousands of years in duality. And we are used to living from low vibrational energies. So now it's not so easy to become aware of when we are not living from a higher vibrational energy, because it's normal, right? And that's what I want to invite you to wake up to anything low vibrational. Notice, hey, Susan, hello, you're back. Notice that you are not living from love. Notice that you're not living from peace, or at least contentment, and neutrality, like a balanced experience. So if you are having these low vibrations, immediately become aware, what are you thinking? How come? And these thoughts are making you feel the low. The thoughts are creating the emotional low, always. This is the way it happens. Without the thought there, you can't feel emotionally low. Where would it come from, Because your natural state is peace and love and calm and joy. So then notice those thoughts that you're thinking and then turn them around. So tell yourself the other story, and this requires effort. This is not always so easy, especially not at the beginning, And you have to hello Lotta. So you have to tell yourself basically the opposite, like in my case, I was, in the tango dance, and I wasn't getting any dances, and then I would have to hang on. This does not feel good. And I had to tell myself, I am a good dancer. I love my dancing. I love my dancing. I love dancing with myself. I love experiencing my dancing. I am a good dancer. I enjoy dancing. Even if I wasn't a good dancer yet, because I'm still learning, I enjoy dancing. And so I would train myself to come from love. And Susan says, it's been fantastic. Thank you. Good. Thank you, Susan. So, you know, I have to train myself to come from a loving, uplifting experience, you know. I need to back myself. I need to give myself what I probably want from the dancers to tell me, oh, you are a good dancer. No, I have to do it myself, because only then it can come into the outside world. You see, this is the big dilemma. We all want it from the outside. We want to get the praise and the approval from others, but it will not come until we give it to ourselves. This is the journey. This is the journey why we're here in a body. This is what the soul wants to learn. The soul wants to learn to actually come out of the dilemma, out of the darkness, the abuse, whatever you're experiencing, because it's so powerful and full of light that it dares to be born into these dark experiences, you know, dark or abusive parents, you know, for instance. And it has so much courage and light that yes, I will do this. And the path for it is to find its way out. And you know, you wouldn't choose that if you couldn't do it. And so therefore, don't forget, never ever forget, you can find your way out. If you're given this situation that you have, you can find your way out, but you have to be very dedicated to pull yourself almost out of the ditches sometimes, out of the low vibrational, you know, emotional states that you might be in. And it's so easy to give into it, and you maybe grab a bottle of something or eat lots of stuff, you know, and therefore fill yourself up with something which is like a substitute for love. But what it's really about is to find your own love within you. So this is what you can do as a first exercise. And I know I couldn't do it when I was at the beginning of my journey. So this is really the middle stage of your journey to self-empowerment, where you are, you know, able to tell yourself, hang on a minute, I don't want to think these things, that I'm not good enough and the others are better, and I'm, you know, I need to be better. Nobody will choose me because I'm not perfect and all that stuff. I am perfect the way I am here and now. Because if I'm a learner, for instance, I have to learn. I have to give myself the time and the space to learn. And it's okay to be a learner. How can I be perfect when I'm learning? Anyway, this perfectionism is again something that doesn't really exist, you know. That's what the mind wants to achieve, because once I'm perfect, then I will get all the dances, then I will be loved, then I will be wanted. No, this is not the way it works, because life is an ongoing journey. It's an endless journey, because we are always evolving. We are not here to get somewhere, because we already have it here. Whatever we want is already present in our hearts. Okay. So, basically don't give up, you know. So you have to really all the time repeat to yourself. This is the process, to repeat to yourself the positive thoughts, the positive train, you know, the story that you want to actually believe in. You know, if you think about it right now, how would you like your life to be in a certain area, say, just one scenario, one area. Write it out, you know. I am a really great dancer. I love dancing. I love the way I dance. I love to give the experience of a beautiful dance to another person. I love to create beauty through my dancing. I love to express myself through my body and with the music. And I love doing that. I am happy with my dancing. I enjoy it. So, you know, for instance, that's my scenario. And if I keep on telling myself that, I immediately feel joy. I've got a siren going by. So I would immediately actually feel joy from these words, and I immediately kind of praise myself and accept myself where I am and what I am doing. And I'm not allowing any negativity there, any down-putting thoughts or any, oh, I'm not good enough, any of that sort. No, I'm not allowing that. Because that's not the outcome I want. And I know this is the hardest thing we have to conquer being humans. That we are not allowing the ego talk to continue, and instead we are training ourselves to focus on what we really, really want. We have to do this every day, every hour at the beginning. That's the way to get there. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And don't allow yourself to ever give up on this. Because if you are on that journey, you will get there. And you will get tests, actually. Because it's almost like spirit is testing you. To come, are you going to allow yourself to ditch, fall into the ditch and not look after you? Oh, I can't be bothered today. I'm just going to drink something or eat 2 pieces of cake or binge watch some Netflix videos. I'm not going to do anything today. It depends where you're coming from. If you're doing that because you feel low, then it's not helping you. It's okay to do that for a rest day, and you're doing it from joy, yeah, and you're doing it because you choose to. So we always have to distinguish between that. Am I doing that because I'm letting myself go and I'm not conducting myself here? I'm not having the reins in my hands? Or, am I doing it because I choose to? From love, from my, from a higher state of mind. Okay, let me know if you've got any questions. Hello, mentor. If you've got any questions about this, please let me know. Also, if you watch it later. Okay, I think that is the exercise number 1. That is very, very important. That you train your thinking, basically. You retrain your thinking. You're telling yourself a new story. And the second exercise I want to give you, this is when you are right in the moment. So something happened to you. Maybe I heard someone talking about she had an accident, and something happened to do with there was a car. I don't know whether she was on the bike or she got hit by the wing mirror of a car, and immediately she told herself, "I'm okay. This doesn't matter. My body's going to heal fast. It's just a little bruise. It doesn't matter." So immediately, you have to become very aware and not go into the drama story. And oh God, this is so bad, and oh my God, this bad driver, and make them wrong and blame them and to put them down. None of that. Immediately take back your reins and say, this is okay, I'm okay, nothing happened, I will heal, my body is really good at that. Let go, get out of the way, and don't attach any meaning to whatever happened. Or if somebody comes along and says something to you that upsets you, that triggers you, and again, immediately become aware of, you could go down the slippery slope of going into, poor me, I'm a victim, nobody loves me. Or, this person is just telling me something about them, nothing to do with me. I don't need to take this on, it means nothing. I'm choosing to not give this any meaning. That's how you can stay neutral. And again, this is the practice. And a very, very important practice indeed. We can actually, I can see that sometimes we can do it with our children. If we are aware parents and the child falls down, and I've watched that, there's some children fall down and they get up again and they never say a word. Because the parents have already helped them to not make this mean anything. And they just say, oh, it's okay, you're fine. And then maybe give a little pat or a little eye contact, or maybe give a kiss on the knee that was scuffed or whatever. That's the way to do it, But to make a drama out of it and to say, oh, poor you, and all of that stuff, we don't need that, right? But we are the ones who have to direct ourselves. Nobody else can do this for you. Nobody else can give you what you actually need on an egoic level. It's your task to give it to yourself. So this is really what it means to empower yourself, to take back your reins fully, and to not expect or want anything from the outside world. If you're not self-contained in yourself, and if you cannot tap into your own supply of love, safety, protection, and nourishment, all of that, then you have work to do. You have to regain that, basically. You have to find that again within you, by connecting yourself with your heart and your soul, And the fastest way to do that is to uncreate, to dissolve the beliefs that are in the way, that cutting off the flow of divine love that usually comes in just naturally, automatically. But with our beliefs and with our thoughts, we can cut them off because we are so powerful. We just have to state an intention. I want to heal from that. You know, you can say that to yourself. I want to heal from that. That's my intention. And then usually what comes up, all of the stuff will come up. You will have drama coming up, difficulties, challenges is coming your way. And you said, hey, I asked for this to be healed. And then the universe would say, yes, this is the first step, beloved. You need to look at what you need to heal, because you can't get there where you want to be in order to uncreate and look at what you need to heal. You just can't skip that. Okay. So this is the journey that we are needing to put ourselves onto if we are wanting to empower ourselves and take back our full power and live from our own love and live from our heart and our soul a lot more than from our egoic mind. Great, great. Susan, I'm really glad it helped you. And if you got any questions, please do ask. And yeah, like I said, anybody who has any questions later on, let me know. I will leave a link to my free discovery call that you can have with me if you are ready and you want to work with me one-to-one on dissolving any of your beliefs and your triggers. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you. Let me know if you're interested. You can ask me any questions. If you want to private message me, that's okay too. And that's it then. I leave you and I love you and I wish you a beautiful weekend. Until next week. Bye for now.